We weren't supposed to get the house. That's what my mom kept saying. It had been on the market for almost a year. Price dropped twice. No buyers. Which didn't make sense. It was a normal suburban home. 2 stories. Finished basement. Quiet cul-de-sac. Good schools. Too good for the price. But my parents didn't question it. And neither did I. At first. The first week felt normal. Unpacking boxes. That hollow echo every empty house has before furniture settles into place. The previous owners had moved quickly, according to the realtor. Job relocation. They left the place clean. Too clean. No marks on the walls. No scratches on floors. It didn't feel lived in. It felt reset. The first weird thing happened on our 3rd night there. I woke up around 2:30 a.m. Not from noise. Just that sudden jolt, like your brain decides it's time to be awake. My room was completely dark. But my closet door was open. I remembered closing it. I always close it. I stared at the gap for a while, waiting for my eyes to adjust. Nothing. Just darkness inside. I told myself I must have forgotten to shut it. I got up. Closed it. Went back to sleep. The next morning, it was open again. Why this time? I asked my little sister if she had come into my room. She hadn't. My parents thought I was trying to start drama. So I let it go. Until the basement. The basement was finished, but no one really used it yet. The lights down there were dimmer than the rest of the house. And colder. Even in summer. About 2 weeks after moving in, I went down to get a box of old cables we'd stored there. Halfway down the stairs, I smelled something. Not rot. Not mold. Just stale air. Like a room that had been sealed too long. At the bottom of the stairs, there was a small storage closet under the steps. The door was slightly cracked open. I don't know why that bothered me. But it did. I opened it fully. Inside was nothing except the water heater and some leftover paint cans. And something written on the back wall. In pencil. Small. Messy. I'm still here. My chest tightened. It looked old. Faded. But definitely intentional. I told my dad. He rolled his eyes and said some teenager must have written it years ago. He painted over it the next day. That should have been the end of it. But 3 nights later, I woke up again at exactly 2:30 a.m. This time to a sound. Footsteps. Not upstairs. Not outside. Inside my room. Slow. Soft. Carpeted footsteps. I couldn't move. I stared at the ceiling, too afraid to turn my head. The footsteps stopped near my desk. Then I heard something brush against the wall. A faint scratch. I finally forced myself to look. Nothing was there. The room was empty. But my desk chair was turned. Facing my bed. I never leave it like that. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, my mom looked exhausted. She asked if I had been walking around at night. I said no. She said she heard someone moving in the hallway around 2:30. Every night that week, something happened. Closet open. Desk chair moved. Basement light on. And always at 2:30 a.m. Then came the night that made us consider leaving. I was downstairs grabbing water. The house was quiet. My parents asleep. My sister asleep. As I walked past the basement stairs, I heard a whisper. Not loud. Just under breath. From below. I froze. I leaned closer to the stairwell. And heard it again. A slow inhale. Then. Still here. My blood went cold. I didn't go down. I ran upstairs and locked myself in my room. The next day, my dad checked the basement thoroughly. Nothing. No break-in. Windows locked. Doors locked. No sign of anyone. But that night, around 2:30 a.m., all three of us woke up at the same time. Because something slammed in the basement. Hard. Like furniture tipping over. My dad ran down. I followed halfway. The basement storage closet door was wide open. And the paint my dad used to cover the writing? Scratched away. The words were back. Darker. Clearer. I never left. We moved out 2 weeks later. The realtor told us another family bought it quickly. A young couple. No kids. 6 months later, my mom ran into the realtor again. The couple had moved out abruptly. Didn't give reason. The house is back on the market now. Price dropped again. Still no buyers. And sometimes, late at night, I check Zillow out of curiosity. Every new listing photo of the basement storage closet shows the door closed. But in one of the images, if you zoom in, you can see faint pencil marks on the back wall. Even through the paint. When I bought my first home, I was proud. Small. Old. Built in the 1940s. But it was mine. It had character. Hardwood floors. A narrow staircase. And an attic with a pull-string ladder. The inspector said everything was fine. Nothing unusual. The previous owner had passed away. Natural causes. That's what I was told. The first month was peaceful. Then the attic started opening on its own. It wasn't dramatic. Just slightly ajar. I'd come home from work, and the ceiling hatch would be down an inch or two. Like it hadn't latched properly. I assumed temperature changes. Old house. Wood shifts. Until one evening. I came home earlier than usual. Around 3 p.m. Sunlight still pouring through the windows. The attic ladder was fully extended. Touching the floor. I stopped in the doorway. I was positive I hadn't gone up there. I never had. I climbed slowly. Dust thick in the air. Boxes scattered. Old insulation. Nothing disturbed. But in the far corner, I noticed something. A sleeping bag. Rolled out. With a pillow. I stared at it. I hadn't put that there. The inspector didn't mention anything like that. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. I called the police. They searched the house. Found nothing. No one. But they told me something I didn't like. There are food wrappers up here. Recent. Someone had been there. The next week I installed cameras. Living room. Front door. Back door. Hallway facing attic hatch. 3 nights passed. Nothing. Then on the 4th night, at 1:12 a.m., I got a motion alert. Hallway camera. I opened the app. The attic hatch was slowly lowering. On its own. No one in frame. Just the hatch. Opening. My chest tightened. The ladder dropped halfway. Then stopped. No one came down. It stayed like that for hours. At 4:47 a.m., it slowly pulled back up. Like someone above was closing it gently. The police came again. This time they searched the attic more aggressively. Behind insulation. Under boards. Nothing. They suggested maybe someone had hidden earlier and left. But that didn't explain the camera footage. The next night, I didn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard something directly above me. Shifting. Soft crawling. I grabbed a baseball bat. Stood under the hatch. And yelled. Get down here. Silence. Then, 3 heavy steps. Right above the hatch. Like someone was standing directly on it. I could see the wood flex slightly. I swung the bat upward. The hatch flew open. Dust rained down. But the attic was empty. Completely empty. The sleeping bag was gone. No wrappers. No pillow. Nothing. The insulation looked untouched. I moved out a week later. Sold it at a loss. The new owner renovated it completely. Removed the attic space entirely. Turned it into a vaulted ceiling. But 2 months ago, I drove past out of curiosity. There was a police car outside. And the house was taped off. Later I found out why. The new owner reported hearing footsteps above the ceiling. Which shouldn't be possible anymore. Because there is no attic. This one is different. Because I still live here. And the room is still locked. When my wife and I bought this house, we were told one room in the basement was sealed for storage. The previous owner didn't have the key. It was an old reinforced door with a heavy deadbolt. The realtor said it likely just contained old junk. We figured we'd deal with it later. Months passed. We forgot about it. Until the noises started. Soft knocking. Not random. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. Always around 3 a.m. At first, I thought pipes. But pipes don't knock rhythmically. One night, I went down there. Stood in front of the locked door. Waited. At exactly 3:02 a.m. 3 knocks. From inside. Not echoing through walls. Directly behind the door. My stomach dropped. I knocked back. 3 times. Silence. Then 3 knocks in response. My wife wanted to call police. I hesitated. What would I even say? There's knocking in my locked basement room? But we did call. They forced the door open. Inside was nothing. Concrete walls. Empty floor. No vents large enough for a person. No hidden doors. Completely sealed. The knocking stopped after that. For a while. Then 2 weeks later. It started again. But louder. Not just knocking. Scratching. Dragging. Like furniture moving. But the room was empty. We installed a camera inside the room. First night, nothing. Second night, nothing. Third night at 3:02 a.m. The camera glitched. Static for exactly 10 seconds. When it came back, there were 3 long scratch marks on the concrete floor. Perfectly parallel. They weren't there before. We checked the footage. There was no one inside. Nothing visible creating them. Last week, the knocking changed. Now it's only 2 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. Like something is correcting itself. We don't go down there anymore. The door is locked again. But sometimes, when the house is completely silent, I can hear slow breathing behind it. Not pipes. Not wind. Breathing. Waiting. And every night at 3:02 a.m. Even if there's no knocking, I wake up anyway. Because deep down, I think something inside that room is trying to remember the right pattern. And when it does, I don't think it'll need the door anymore.